Alright, so this one was similar to the story with where Mion became very upset that she didn't get the Toy Story or the Toy Store toy. It was like a bear or something like that. But it's apparently a little bit different. So apparently, instead of giving the present to it was a doll. Okay, instead of giving the doll to Rina, he gives it to Mion. I think we also had a really big scene in the store as well, if I remember right. At this point, Rika's hoping that this little change hasn't happened before. Maybe we can finally defeat the curse, defeat the loop. So the main thing that happened in the story was that Satoko was stuck at home. And everyone's kind of worried she's being abused. So child welfare representative visits Hinamizawa. And they don't do anything. And then Keiichi gets pretty upset. He goes to that public office, tries to convince them it doesn't work, comes back the next day with a whole big group of people, doesn't work, comes back the next day with like a massive part of the village. It was like 100 people. And I think it looks like that was gonna work or something like that. Only, I don't remember exactly what happened, and this article doesn't specifically go into that. But this is the part where it was like, Satoko, reach out your hand so that we can help you. Which I think is what they're probably about to go over when I start this. That was the wrong fragment. This one. Oh, right, yeah, this too. I forgot about. Yeah, I kind of forgot that this is where this happened. I think this was actually the last chapter, like the seventh story, so to speak, where we had Mio end up shooting the kids or something like that in the forest, where it seemed like everything was going to work out, and then nope, you're all dead. The game piece that uncovers the invisible Rule Y that has been pulling strings from the beginning. Because the impression of that is so strong, it's easy to forget about something very important. We can't forget that this piece also shows the path towards destroying Rule Z. While Rika Fruity lamented Rule Z is impossible to defeat, it was hardly a match for Keiichi Maebara and the others once they learned everything they needed to. They knew the correct way to fight, and fought according to the rules of the game board. As a result, we win, and that fact is more valuable than anything for us. Keiichi Maebara taught me a lesson. There's no need to subject ourselves to any fate. The will to believe can defeat anything. The fate that I was always subjected to was created by Mio Takano's own conviction. So what he says is correct. To defeat our conviction, we need a stronger conviction of our own. A strong will can be pierced only by another strong will. We defeated rules X and Z, and then challenged the final rule, Rule Y, but we needed more pieces. Each piece fought at its best, but the strength of our enemy's pieces, led by Mio Takano, were just too powerful. She didn't even give us mercy. She squished us completely and made us restart the game all over again. Although we lost, we didn't give up the resolve in our hearts. Because we finally found the true culprit, and also found a clue for how to fight against her. We can win, or we can't win with the pieces we have now. We don't have a powerful enough conviction or a strong enough will. But Hanyu and I will keep trying. We'll roll our die repeatedly, look for the greatest result, collect pieces, and try again. With a will stronger than Takano. Didn't you think of giving up several times before you got to this point? But she made it because you believed in me and followed me here. We're almost there. We can do it. Let's create the last piece. It will be the ultimate piece, and we won't need anything else. The very last piece of it all. Come on, let's collect the pieces. Let's collect miracles. Please give me your hopes, or give your hopes, desires, and dreams to me. I actually kind of liked that section. You know, if I didn't bother to look up all those things, that's a reasonable refresher to remind you of what's happened so far. And of course you have to remember that while I'm playing this in a slightly unorthodox way, to be perfectly honest, I'm probably playing it better than, not better, but in a better way for remembering things than some people have, because I think the games took multiple years to all come out, right? Whereas I played through them all in about, what is it, like a year and a half? 2 years? Something like that? I'm not sure. I could look it up, but I'm not going to. And so I probably played through it faster than, you know, people who played through them like as they did episodically. Anyway, Matsuri Bayashi. Is that's the one we're in now? Yeah, I can see it on the top of my game window. After collecting miracles from all 7 fragments. Oh. I finally got a hold of this one. This fragment holds their final fate. But before we take a peek, please wait for just a little bit. The fate that's inside will be decided the moment we take a peek. Have I told you about the story of the cat in the box? Is the cat in the box dead or alive? If you open the box, you'll know, but you won't know until you open it. It could be alive and it could be dead. In other words, before you open the box, the living cat and the dead cat simultaneously coexist. In the moment you open the box and find out the truth, the incorrect answer disappears. The inside of this fragment is the same principle. The future we desire and the future Takano desires simultaneously coexist. They are opposing and denying each other. Once we take a peek, one of those futures will disappear. If we have enough pieces, we can take a look inside this fragment. But we've only had the same pieces lined up the same way on the game board. And the game under the same condition was Takano's complete victory. We've already tried that in the mini Higurashi fragment. We need more pieces. We need the help of a piece that's powerful enough to defeat Rule Y. Until I get a hold of that piece, it's too scary to take a peek inside this fragment. But how do I get such a piece? It's a piece I've never gotten a hold of before. To obtain it, I need to look. Just one more time. I need one more miracle to obtain that piece. I don't know if we've heard this music before. Oh, hey, look at that. Leftover fragments. Do you need the final miracle? What is this? I never noticed this tiny little fragment. Sometimes the fragment gets cracked and it breaks. Just like how the fate we believe in cracks sometimes. A damaged fate is no longer the same fate it was. Then which fate does this piece belong to? I picked up the tiny fragment and tried to match it with the fragments I have in my hand. And the last fragment I picked up was the Himatsubushi fragment. This fragment was distorted from the beginning. And look. See? This tiny piece fits perfectly. With this tiny fragment, how will the world change? What kind of miracle will occur? The world warped. Since I put the broken piece back where it belonged, the distortion centered on the crack. But that doesn't mean I can't take a peek inside. It's already past 1985. It's a time long after Rika Furude and her friend's stories tragically ended in June 1983. Beep. With some mild interference, an order crackled through their headsets.
全班へ室長からありがたいお言葉があるぞ。傾注しろ。
ご苦労さん。所轄署は15分くれることになってる。秒で制圧しろ。一人たりとも逃がすな。ターゲットの一人は外交官だ。警察だと悟られるな。有無を言わせず身柄を確保しろ。ただし間違っても危害を加えるな。外交問題に発展するぞ。
外交官特権で地元暴力団と癒着している芸道どもだ。
According to the local embassy, some of the victims are younger than teenagers.
クソどもが。
Normally this would be a simple case with the perpetrators being gangsters. But when the police found out that a foreign diplomat was involved, things got much more complicated all of a sudden. Diplomats have diplomatic immunity, so the police can't arrest them. But they knew he was an important figure in the whole scheme, and there was no doubt that he was the middleman between the foreign criminal organization and the Japanese gangsters. They couldn't let him escape. It'd be easy to deport him, but that wouldn't solve anything. The police had asked the embassy for assistance, but they denied the request. And the case was put on a standstill at that point. That's when they found out that the organization was going to be selling the Self-Defense Force's classified radar and military or missile technology secrets. The Public Safety Division then had to move on the premise to protect this classified government information. And today was the day that operation was set to go.
正面は階段前に2人、地下入り口に2人、裏口に4人、全員体重の可能性大。
普段より2人多いな。
あの人にとっちゃ2秒余計にかかるだけさ。容赦ねえからな、あの人。
聞こえるか、赤坂。お前が切り込み隊長。
Ah, there we go. A name I recognize.
用心してかかれ。よし、開始しろ。
赤坂了解。作戦を開始する。
Oh, he's so cool. A man suddenly appeared around the corner downtown. It was Akasaka. He displayed none of the naivety that he did when he first met Rika. When he got to the entrance of the underground club, a bouncer with a heavy foreign accent stopped him.
ここ、会員制。お兄さん、会員証ある？
Akasaka pulled a card out after being asked. It was a card that was very difficult to forge, so they could only get one. As the man on point, he was the one to receive it. The bouncer let Akasaka in after confirming he had a membership card.
赤塚さん、地上の護衛突破。地下階段を降りてます。
頼むぞ、赤坂。
At the bottom of the staircase, there was an overtly decorated door like the ones you'd see at a high-class club. The venomous glow of the cocktail lights lit it up, silently warning everyone it was an entrance to a den of evil.
いらっしゃいませ。会員証を拝見いたします。
The guard at the entrance took the membership card and put it through the card reader on the wall. Beep! An error sound. Slight perspiration could be seen on Akasaka's forehead. The guard swiped the card a couple times more. Beep! Beep!
赤塚さん、手間取ってます。
まさか、カードの認証が変えられたか。赤坂にトラブルが発生したら作戦変更するぞ。赤坂の安全を速攻で確保しろ。
The expression on the guard with him steadily grew dour. His right hand reached inside of his jacket, probably fingering his gun. Ding! The buzzer suddenly rang with a delightful tone, and the card reader flashed a green light. Immediately after that, the lock on the door opened up.
お待たせしました。どうぞお通りください。
The guard pulled his hand out of his jacket and opened up the heavy door. Loud music and flashing colorful lights spilled out from the inside. From within that, a well-dressed guard appeared to welcome Akasaka. At this moment, his first mission was accomplished. Having acted as the go signal for the remaining units, Akasaka was also in the dangerous position of being in enemy territory all by himself. The door was the biggest obstacle for their ambush. The door locked automatically, so whenever it was closed, it was also sealed that way. It was a solid door and nearly impossible to open from the outside. Somebody had to not only open that door, but to keep it open for several seconds in order for the raid to begin. Akasaka was the only one who could do that.
赤坂入り口確保。
作戦開始。
The complex on the other side of the club was getting a new tenant, and there were 2 trucks parked in front of the building. But of course, that was just a disguise. The door to one of the trucks opened, and several dozen plainclothes investigators jumped out. The same thing was happening at the back door, too. The ground-level guards noticed this and began to draw their guns, but were taken down immediately by nearby investigators who had been pretending to be innocent bystanders. Several dozen investigators quietly went down the underground stairs. These narrow underground stairs were another obstacle to their operation. Everything would end up on the security camera. Their raid would become known within a few seconds. For that matter, a push on the security button would make it impossible for the lock to be opened from the outside. That's why they had to secure the door before the ambush. The guards on both sides of Akasaka noticed the loud footsteps coming down the stairs. The well-dressed guard also realized that something was wrong. The 3 guards shifted their attention from Akasaka to the stairs behind him. And as he sensed that attention shift, Akasaka took a quick, deep breath and then stopped breathing entirely. The 2 guards standing beside him suddenly rose into the air in strange positions. Akasaka... Whoa. We get guitar! Akasaka determined his position relative to the 2 guards next to him, so he didn't need to check with his eyes. But even so, his fists had been driven into their faces with such precise accuracy. His moves were well-trained ones and showed no mercy against evil. They were as destructive as armor-piercing ammunition. And furthermore, Akasaka had retracted his arms at the same speed he struck. Everything looked so strange in the flashing lights. The man who witnessed all this probably couldn't figure out what had just happened. The 2 guards were up in the air in strange positions, and the man who had been standing in front of him was now crouching low. Then that moment shattered. The well-dressed guard was smashed into the ceiling, and shortly afterwards came crashing down into the floor. Later on, while slurping liquid food, he would desperately try to remember whether it was a fist or a leg that broke his jaw. He would probably never quite recall it. Rather luckily, the way his body fell blocked the door, so Akasaka didn't have to hold it open any longer.
赤坂突入する。
おい待て、後続と合流しろ。赤坂。
The room was filled with loud music, but everyone had already noticed the... Brouhaha? Oh, I don't know that word at all. Hold on, I want to learn that one. Alright, brouhaha. A noisy and overexcited reaction or response to something. As soon as Akasaka bellowed his warning, screams filled the club. Most people immediately hit the floor as if trying to proclaim their innocence. But all the guards reacted quickly to Akasaka. In the midst of all this, there were a few people who were trying to make their escape through the back alongside several guards. Akasaka restarted his breathing once, and then stopped it again, and then ran after them like a wolf. He jumped onto the table, smashing expensive bottles of alcohol, and scattering glasses with ice cubes made from the icebergs of the Arctic. A foreign bodyguard, whose previous profession must have been a professional boxer, thoughtlessly stood in front of Akasaka. With a heavy accent, he tried to taunt his opponent. But Akasaka couldn't have cared less about that. The only display that man was able to put on for him was that he was able to block Akasaka's attack. But it wasn't even an effective guard. The power of Akasaka's punches were so incredible that they simply broke the man's bones in his attempt to block them. The man's arm warped in a strange way, and the moment after, the agony showed on his face. Akasaka's left arm ground into it. Akasaka, you see, is right-handed. That man should consider himself grateful that he was able to get away with a mere orbital fracture. Thinking that this was his chance, another man attempted to tackle Akasaka-san from behind. He assumed that no matter how strong a man was, he'd go down quickly when attacked from behind. He also assumed that as Akasaka was concentrating in front of him, he wouldn't be expecting an attack from behind to begin with. But that would only be true if Akasaka was just concentrating on his friend. Indeed, the attacker was very wrong, for Akasaka was no longer even thinking about the man before him. Akasaka knew exactly when and what was about to happen. The experience he has built up to this day taught him that. His body, more than his mind, remembered the timing for when menaces to society like these would make their move from behind him. Akasaka's attack continued fluidly from the left arm punch that he struck against the ex-boxer. His left arm retracted, and at the same time he arced his left leg around beautifully as it crashed into the man approaching him from behind. A dull sound signified that his nose had been broken. But Akasaka already knew that. Of course he did. Akasaka already knew everything. Akasaka continued his motion and directed a decisive right blow to the side of his assailant's head. The man slammed into the wall and bounced off of it, rolling on the floor. Akasaka took another breath. Under the glare of the dazzling club lights, the guards realized they were up against a demon. Yes, they realized there was no way to take him down. The guards were being paid to deal with humans. Fighting demons just wasn't in their job description. At that moment, backup finally arrived. Maybe finally isn't a suitable word. Everything that happened did so over a matter of seconds. The time it took for Akasaka to take down those 5 guards was a span of merely 2 breaths. Thanks to Akasaka's furious action, the flow of events was already set. Akasaka's intimidating first strike shattered the gang leader's will to run. They were all down on the floor, but one of them began smiling. Akasaka grabbed him by the collar and threw him against the concrete wall. With a dragon-like roar, Akasaka's right fist pounded the wall right next to the diplomat's head. Immediately after that, his left fist pounded the wall on the other side of the head, and soon enough Akasaka had pounded the wall 7 times, each just a sliver away from the diplomat. His fists were easily powerful enough to crush the man's head. The diplomat crumbled to the floor.
Akasaka, target確保.
Further investigations discovered a secret getaway route that even public safety didn't know about. Dozens of Soviet military-grade machine guns were found, and if Akasaka hadn't stopped them there in the club, they would have escaped, or even worse, the operation might have ended with a brutal death toll on both sides. All thanks to how well Akasaka executed his duty, the operation was completed without a single shot fired. Since the foreign diplomat was involved, They had to make sure it didn't look as though the whole operation was carried out by the police. Instead, it was made to look like a simple gang war. They would dump the useless gang members and hand over the target to the police. Of course, before handing him over, they made sure he spilled everything he knew. That diplomatic pig would be used as a negotiation device by another part of public safety. They found plenty of evidence that said pig was tied to an underground criminal organization. Not wanting a persona non grata on their hands, the embassy would likely cut all ties with him. The rest would be the business of the other departments. Public safety's job was to take care of the things regular police couldn't deal with.
赤坂は無事か。
Oh, that was some intense guitar.
応答しろ赤坂。
こちら赤坂、撤収中。
また無茶をしやがって。後で出張にこってり絞られろ。
やっぱり鬼だな赤坂さんはよ。秒殺で5人撃墜だぜ。
ありゃあ絶対赤坂さんの鉄拳はすでに狂気だね。
しかし連中銃を抜かなかったのはラッキーだったよな。赤坂さん躊躇ねえからな。蜂の巣にしてたかもしれないぜ。
聞こえてるぞ。人を殺し屋みたいに言うな。俺は悪党に容赦しないだけだ。
The pigs he just caught were no average criminals. They had committed so many unforgivable sins. The strength behind Akasaka's fist was proportional to those sins. The heavier their sins, the more powerful his blows would be.
豚どもを荷台に詰め込め。赤坂、急がせろ。所轄署に通報が入ってるぞ。
赤坂了解。聞こえたな。撤収を急げ。
了解。主任どうぞ。手配をお願いします。
There wasn't any trace left of Akasaka's old naivety. He had grown to be the vigilant ace of his department. Now this music's pretty cool. Well, I was looking for a spot to stop. I think we'll pick here. With all of the cuts I've made, we're probably a little over an hour, but that's fine. Like I said, I'm going to make a few more recordings to kind of... So here's the thing. It's like the beginning of March right now. It's like at the end of March. I'm getting another computer. Kind of complicated, but I'm selling this one and getting another one. And in the meantime, I'd still like to have a couple videos come out, you know? So I'm going to make all these. I can edit them on a different computer, but anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and make a few more of these and get them all ready so that I can have them ready. So if anyone says anything in particular, I will be, unable to make any changes for the next few episodes. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. It looks like we're finally done with the fragments, and somewhat. I guess we're technically on like 1 right now. And maybe we can continue the story from here next time. Bye!